Welcome to the beautiful day Un Día Bonito show. I am your host, Dorimar Bonilla, and today I am thrilled to have with me Dr. Lynelle Clark of the University of Houston. She is the director of the operations department of the Historically Underutilized Business, or HUB. Welcome, Dr. Clark.
Thank you so much.
It's such a pleasure having you with us today. Can you please share with our audience a little bit about yourself and your background?
My pleasure. I am a mother of two. My son is a high school principal in New Jersey, in fact, and my daughter and son-in-law live in Austin, and I have two beautiful grandchildren, 4 and 6, going on 20-something years of age is what I call them, and that's basically in terms of my family.
Well, thank you for sharing with us about yourself and your family. I know that also on the professional side, you have rich history with the University of Houston and the HUB. Can you please tell us about that?
Yeah, it's I always say it's really funny. I've come full circle in my career. As I started my career, once I left the United States Air Force as an officer, I was in Texas, and I started my career in the HUB program, Historically Underutilized Program, working first for the Texas Department of Transportation, and then later for the Austin Independent School District. So in combined, I had over 15 years of experience in the HUB field. And I left the field and did in various positions throughout my career, and I ended up being a grant writer. And I was recruited from Austin to the University of Houston to help write grants. And I did that for 1 year, and later was applied for this position as the director for the HUB program, and was fortunate enough to be selected. And so I always laugh. I was like, the Lord has a funny sense of humor. Started off, it was like, okay, I am going to end my career where I started my career, because trust and believe I will be retiring when I finish my stint in this department, and I made an opportunity to the best of my abilities to help small minority and women-owned businesses and disabled vets obtain contracts with the university.
Well, you are right. I mean, it has come full circle, and it's been a great journey. What exactly, for those who don't know, what is HUB?
It is a state program. It's by state statute, by law, that all state institutions, which the university is a state entity, that we make a good faith effort to contract with businesses that are certified by the state, who are minority owned, women owned, as well as disabled veteran. And so they have to be 51% at a minimum owned by someone within that group, as well as their other criteria as far as the certification goes. And so that's basically, in a nutshell, kind of what a HUB stands for. But again, businesses have to meet certain criteria described by the state.
That's great work with the community and great support for those who need it. And I know that you also work closely with organizations like Manhattan Construction or the National Organization of Minority Contractors. Can you tell me what is the work that you do together and how it has an impact in the community?
Absolutely. NAMAC, National Association of Minority Contractors, is one of several partners, community partners, where they help identify minority in businesses that fit that criteria, small businesses, again, minority women or disabled veteran-owned businesses and women-owned businesses within the construction field. We have over 30% of our spend is within construction. So we're talking about large amounts of money. And within that, there's various opportunities for those firms to contract directly as prime contractors or subcontract with non-minority firms, or even with large minority firms such as Manhattan, which is what we call a general contractor.
Correct. And you work with businesses not only at helping them become successful, but also sounds like educating them as well in how to do so, which is important, because if you don't know the steps you need to take, how can you do so? And it's great to hear that you have some courses so that people can actually learn how to go about these things. And what would you say are the requirements for somebody who wants to apply for Hub within the University of Houston?
Okay, so what I would share with vendors that feel they meet the requirements is that I can certainly direct them to specific entities and agencies that can actually walk them through the paperwork to be certified as they have business. Their entities, they can do it directly with the state. Now that it's online, they can do it that way. Or again, they can partner with, I can help them, again, connect them with that appropriate entity that can walk them through the paperwork if they're hesitant of, well, what do they mean by this and so forth. And then,
because some people are technology savvy, but some people really need a little bit more hand holding.
Exactly. So you try to look where they're at and take them where they're at. And I see myself as that advice giver and providing that guidance, and I will always be an educator. I'm an educator at heart. I will always be that no matter what position I'm in. And so with that said, once they have an opportunity to get certified, the university has its own database. And so once they are certified, I encourage them to partner with me in establishing a vendor profile in that database so that we can make certain that they are receiving applicable notifications regarding contracting opportunities, because we do more than just construction. There are various opportunities for businesses that sells products. We have 16 academic colleges here at the university.
Oh, wow.
And we have what we call diversified procurement. So there's no one place specifically that you can find out what each college is going to be buying at any given moment. But working through my office having a vendor profile, I can help share, or the colleges can reach out directly to a vendor. For example, we had one college that is in need of laundry service.
So it's a lot more expensive than what people would think.
Exactly. People will say, well, what does the university buy? The better question is, what is it that we don't buy?
Correct.
Right.
What would you say is coming up? Is there any new programs, anything to look forward to in 2022 that is new and innovative, expansive of the program?
I think the newest thing is sharing the guidance and the direction in which my department and overall is going. What the pandemic taught me, and hopefully I taught others, is that you need to learn how to use technology. We're not going to host I do a lot of events and forums and exhibit fairs. All of that's going to continue to run virtually. And
yes.
So it is important for vendors to understand that, or any business, learn your technology, learn how to, my big focus in 22 is sharing with vendors the things that they don't know, those unknown things. Things like, can you give that elevator speech about your business in less than a minute?
Right.
How can you answer the question, what makes you stand out from your competitor? 9 times out of 10, you're not unique. Unless you're developing something that's going to be patent, you're not unique. So therefore, and it's not enough to say, I'm a hub.
You may not be unique, but what makes you special?
What makes you special? Exactly. And feel good about that. Brag about that.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to do in 22 is help build relationships.
Well, it's been such a pleasure having you. Can you tell our audience where can they find more about Hub and about the programs you have here in
Absolutely.
the University of Houston?
My pleasure. So anyone who's interested in more information, and there's a wealth of information on our website. It's very simple. Go to uh.edu/hub, HUB. That's uh.edu/hub. And we look forward to hearing from you, and we look forward to answering your questions.
Well, thank you. And I hope you learned something today. I hope you do your research and get involved with this amazing organization that is doing wonderful things for the community. Do your research. Learn how you can help your own business through this organization and their services. I am your host, TerraMar Bonilla, with the beautiful day, Un Día Bonito show. We will be right back. Welcome
to the beautiful day on the Bonito show. I am your host, Dorimar Bonilla, and today I am thrilled to have with me CEO and President of the Friends of the National Museum of the American Latino, Estuardo Rodriguez. I am so honored to have him join me virtually. Welcome, Estuardo.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be with you.
Thank you for joining me. Would you share a little bit about yourself and your background with our audience?
I'd be happy to. My parents are from Peru. I was born in our nation's capital in Washington, D.C. Been traveling for my career up and down the East Coast, but currently working out of Washington, D.C. on this campaign to create an American Latino museum on our national mall.
Wonderful. And the mission of your organization states that it strives to create a museum in our nation's capital to educate, inspire, and encourage respect and understanding of the richness and diversity of the American Latino experience within the U.S. and its territories, and that by highlighting the contributions made by Latino pioneers and communities to the American way of life, we are all better by truly understanding what makes our nation great. What a wonderful and beautiful statement. Would you share with us what sparked this amazing mission?
Well, I have to say, hearing you lay out and repeat that mission, it really does strike, to the heart. Our community has been a part of the fabric of our nation for 500 years before the nation even came together as the United States. And that description really goes to the message that we must have pride in our work, in our sacrifice, our parents, grandparents, those that were always here in the United States and those that immigrated here to the United States, much like every American outside of the Native Americans. And our commitment has been to ensure that when you go to the National Mall, that our stories are as present as every other story. The origins of the campaign started in 1994, if you can believe that, 26 years ago.
Wow.
A task force was created to find out why there were so few stories of Latinas and Latinos across the Smithsonian Institution. And they found that they were so they were so absent that it almost appeared intentional that those stories were omitted. And the report that was created from that investigation was titled Willful Neglect. And that's really the beginning of our campaign back in 1994 to correct the absence of stories across the Smithsonian.
Then you have gone a long way. I mean, our producer and myself, we were both so excited to read some big news over the holidays. Please tell our audience, because it's also exciting to us, what are the great strides that have been accomplished by your organization and Congress thus far?
Well, I'm glad you said the holidays, because fue tremendo regalo, as we say, right?
Yes.
It was something that we had been working on I have been working on for 16 years now. I don't want you to think I've been working on this since 1994. But for 16 years, I've been working on this. So I do have some grades, even though you can't see them. It has. And the thing what has kept us going is the energy and enthusiasm from both sides of Congress, the House and the Senate, and Democrats and Republicans working together to honor American history. And I want to be clear about that. This isn't just a campaign to make sure that Latino stories are told. This is a campaign to make sure that the full American story is told. Everyone that has been part of the building and strengthening of our nation must have a place on our national mall so that everyone can see these strengths that comes from the diversity of our country. And that's really been what's been driving us all of these years, especially as we see such division in the country, and sometimes, unfortunately, the negative stereotyping, the false narratives of who we are in the country. That has to be corrected, and we can do that by accurately portraying American history on our national mall. And 16 years after I began this campaign, we finally saw the authorization to create the American Latino Museum. That legislation passed in December in the House and in the Senate. And now we have fully authorized the creation. And as they say, now the real work begins, because now we have to actually open the doors of this.
That's so exciting. See, whenever I get some good news of any kind, I always say it's like Christmas. But That was literally, it was a Christmas present. Literally.
It literally was.
That's amazing.
Literally was for a lot of people.
Yes, and now the American Latino Museum is moving forward. What would be the next steps?
Right. So as I said, that's where the real work begins, right? Because we have a real challenge now. Although the museum legislation is passed and we are authorized to create this museum, there's a big challenge. Where do you put it? The National Mall is an iconic location for 30 million tourists from all over the country and the world that come to Washington, D.C. to learn about U.S. history. And to just simply pop up another museum on that National Mall between the Washington Monument and the Capitol building is difficult. There are 3 locations that we're looking at. One is an open parking lot by the Senate. Another one is a historically protected building called the Arts and Industries Building. Another one is the Department of Agriculture. It's the only federal agency on the mall, and it shouldn't be there. But we can imagine there are challenges in moving a federal agency. And then the last one is the reserve. It's an open field across from the African American Museum. There's a lot of pressure to keep that as an open space, but the reality is it would be perfect to go side by side with the African American Museum. So we have to advocate, make noise, and ensure that we get the best location possible. And we also have to make sure that we as the community, we put skin in the game, that we commit, like the African American Museum had individual contributions and corporate contributions. We must ensure that our donations are there to support the creation of the museum. It is going to be a 50-50 split between the government and the individual donors and philanthropists and business leaders to open up these doors.
Wow, that's a lot of work. But so now you go find a location, decide what the location will be, and then once you find the location and you start working on it, what can the museum goers expect to find at the museum, at this wonderful, exciting institution that you're going to have right in the capital?
Yeah, I think that's been the question. I like to look at the African American Museum as an example in that it covers so many important themes: the origin of the community, their experience in the early founding years, and then moving into different eras of music, of art, of science, of medicine. We have so many stories to tell. Unlike the African American Museum, we also have a very different origin. We have the Mexican experience that was always part of the United States, where the border moved on them versus them immigrating into the country. They were always here. The Caribbean, Spanish, South American, Central American experience, right? Those individuals that came from all over the country, they have different starting points. But what we do know is that culture, that commitment to create and build this nation was shared by everyone. So the first city in the United States is St. Augustine, Florida, the first capital, Santa Fe. And we look at history that people have right now in their attics. So much like the African American Museum, they went on tour looking around the country to find who had some hidden, dusty or put away kind of photographs or relics in their homes that they haven't shared. And that really is where some of the finest pieces and most emotional pieces of the African American Museum, that's where they came from. And we believe strongly that we similarly have stories that our abuelitas and abuelitos just have in the attic or under the bed. And these are probably photos of patriotism, contributions in science and commitments and discoveries that really have helped build the nation. And that's really where we want to get, is those stories need to be shared.
Wonderful. And maybe a little bias on this end, but I think it would be interesting as well to see a little bit of, the Puerto Rico connection with the United States, because a lot of people don't really understand what it is. A lot of people don't understand what the relationship is between Puerto Rico and the mainland. So it would be interesting to see how that can be maybe added into it. And you have quite the list of supporters, from John Leguizamo to Chita Rivera, Eva Longoria, so many of them. What is it about the mission that you think is drawing such great attention and support?
I think it really is that shared frustration that our story has not been told, that we often are painted in a certain way, sometimes a not flattering way, by mainstream media, by some of the political election season divisions. I mean, many times the Latino community is painted or portrayed in a certain way because it suits one candidate or the other. This is something that is shared. That frustration is shared by everyone that I talked to, as before the pandemic, as I traveled the country. It really was about, how do we control our narrative? How do we drive our own narrative so that we can present the truth, the best of what we've given? I mean, we talk about the entertainment industry. Well, Desi Arnaz, from the creator of I Love Lucy, he created the modern sitcom with 3 cameras. There's so many things that we see in our society today that we just take for granted without understanding the origins. And we see last month, the Mars landing of Perseverance, led by a Colombiana engineer. I mean, these are moments that we should be sharing even more proudly, making sure that people understand that our contributions are tied to every element of our society. And I think that's why John Leguizamo, in his own way, launched that one-man show talking about U.S. Latino history. That shared frustration that people still talk about our community as if we just got here yesterday, when we have been here for 500 years, and some of us even earlier. You talk about Puerto Rico, the Puerto Rican experience after Hurricane Maria, that devastation. When the federal funding was going to go help Puerto Rico, some people said, why are we helping other countries?
Exactly.
What? What are you talking about?
That's what I mean. Like, a lot of people don't understand the relationship, right, between Puerto Rico and mainland. And it's like, no, we have been American citizens since World War I. We have fought every war there has been. We are part of this country. And a lot of people don't even know that. Like you said, why are we helping other countries? You're not. Yeah. This is your own country that actually happens to make a lot of contributions to this main country in multiple ways, in different ways, so it's throughout the years. So it's important for people to understand that it's like, a lot of people say perception is reality, but perception isn't always reality. And it is important to present what reality really looks like so that people can understand and maybe get rid of the wrong perceptions that they have.
Well, I think that, again, and I start to get a little bit passionate about it myself, but I think that really goes to the answer to your question. Why is John Leguizamo involved? Rosario Dawson, Eva Longoria, and it's that shared frustration, that the disbelief, like, how can we still be having this conversation about whether we belong or not?
100%.
It should be yeah. Anyway, I'm going to pause, but thank you.
Oh no, we can keep going on there, because this is such an interesting and amazing topic to bring light to. You can go on and on and on, and we would love to hear everything that you have to say. Now, I want you to share with our audience, how can our audience learn more about the American Latino Museum? And for those who want to get involved and support, how can they do so?
Thank you. Yes. So we are at AmericanLatinoMuseum.org, and similarly, you'll find us on social media platforms under American Latino Museum. We are very focused right now on building out that base of support. So even if you're just following or signing up for our emails, we are looking to ensure that everyone is able to support the campaign, whether it's by sharing information, educating each other, because we know how big our Latino families are and our Latino networks, nuestros primos hermanos. We need to let everyone know that this campaign is happening, because we made a commitment across 16 years that I've been working on this. We made a commitment that if and when this bill passed, that we were going to step up and ensure that our contributions would help build this museum. And so right now we're growing and educating, right now virtually, growing and educating the community how important this museum bill is now that it passed, that we have to raise roughly $700 million. And 50% of that will be paid for by the government, and the other 50% will come from the community and corporate donors and philanthropists. But the challenge is that we have 2 years to identify a location on the mall. That's by legislation. So the more we let people know that this campaign is going, by the end of the 2 years, we will be ready to launch a very aggressive capital campaign to ensure that we send that message that we believe in this museum, we support the museum, and we're going to prove it by donating to open its doors.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so it is important to spread the voice and to let everybody know what you're doing. We are so thrilled that you join us today. It's so wonderful to see how passionate you are about this mission. And we at the Beautiful Day on the Bonito Show, we would love to host an event in our community and support this mission. We're so excited to get involved and collaborate. We will be in touch with you and your amazing team to offer our support. I know we had this conversation earlier about, how our producer and we've been having some conversations about it already. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
One last time, please share the website of your organization so that everybody can go and support and learn more about your mission.
Well, thank you again for the invitation. I'm very honored to be part of the morning, your morning, and with your audience. And we welcome them at AmericanLatinoMuseum.org, across our social media platforms. We will be hosting a number of events throughout the next year to make sure that we're reaching as many people as possible. And we're very excited at the opportunity to host a fundraiser with you. So thank you so much for offering that. We're looking forward to it.
Thank you so much, Estuardo, for joining us today. And all of you at home, please get informed, get involved. This is a wonderful mission and they need your support. Thank you for watching the Beautiful Day on the Bonito Show. I am your host, Dorimar Bonilla.
Today